to its unique geographical location and its extended shores, Tunisia was always a center of successive civilizations and a link between the Western and Eastern Mediterranean. In a continuous cultural, civilizational, and commercial dimension between the Arab world and Europe, and between Africa and the Mediterranean. These led Tunisia to be affected by a series of marine events, cultures, and traditions in the Mediterranean. It's a civilization that draws from the mysteries of the deep sea since ancient times. For thousands of years, maritime trade has been of capital importance for Tunisia. Carthage was a great maritime power, having a commercial and military fleet that guaranteed sovereignty over the Mediterranean Sea, as well as navigation security. For Carthage, the sea was not only the main factor of its prosperity and economic strength, but also the main factor among those which contributed to its fall. Carthage and Hadramaut ports still give evidence of the importance of trade and traffic at that era, which faded with Vandals' invasion. At the era of Hassanid dynasty, the Bey Hammouda Basha developed maritime trade activities, once handicapped by the absence of deep docks at port's neighborhood, which caused a problem to sailing boats and to coastal navigation. Hammouda Basha built in 1835 the Goulet docks in order to organize maritime traffic and to make it more efficient in the Mediterranean Sea. As well as vessels built in arsenal fully ready to develop the fleet. After French occupation in 1881, the General Department of Public Works started studies in order to develop commercial ports in the Protectorate in order to achieve colonial France's objectives, which started since the end of the 19th century, the birthing of the ports, the dredging and the digging of the Ship Canal that links the Goulet to the Tunis port in 1888. The accommodation of the Ship Canal lasted 5 years, and Tunis port was open to international traffic in 1903. France started exporting Tunisia's wealth, mainly wheat, until Tunisia became, in the 20s, the first wheat exporter in the world. France did so secure its needs and established its influence. The old port of Bizerte had in turn been birthed and work started therein during 1886. A ship canal had been digged and a great port emerged in 1890 and became the most important military port of the Mediterranean, serving to forwarding troops and columns. It also witnessed the first trip of Tunisian and Maghrebian pilgrims towards sacred lands after the Second World War on board a French vessel coming from Algeria and forwarding hundreds of Moroccan and African pilgrims. In Sousse, France birthed the old Punic port so that it would accommodate big vessels, while dredging it and linking it by railways to Kasserine in order to export cellulose. So it became a commercial trading port for the steppes area. As for the old port of Sfax, which played an important part in the Punic era, it was dredged in turn to 6.5 meters deep. France built quays there, which opened it to the international maritime traffic on April 25, 1907, and started exporting agricultural products, mainly olive oil and phosphates coming from the mining area at the southwest of Tunisia. At the beginning of the 60s, the State of the Independence began the construction and the consolidation of public enterprises, in particular the creation of the Office of the Merchant Navy and Ports, under Law No. 2 of year 1965. Dated on February 12, 1965, to manage in an autonomous way the Tunisian commercial harbors as public enterprise with civil character. The power of the office was spread to the privileges touching the maritime administration, and so became the authority which operates ports according to the legislation in force. The Office of the Merchant Navy and the Ports can so check all the ships and the goods which pass in transit by Tunisian ports, while reducing the waiting times by delivering better services in the slightest costs, by assuring the safety and the administrative management of boats and seafarers, as well as the safety of navigation. The Tunisian ports open on both sides of the Mediterranean, in close proximity to the active European market, based near archaeological museums full with civilization and tradition, and near the ancient ports, historical landmarks, leisure and tourism spaces. The Goulat port represents the vibrant heart of the city and the symbol of its prosperity and progress. The port itself occupies the activity of the transfer of travelers and tourists by 98%, while the port of Sfax links the island of Qarqna with the mainland. The trade ports also are near the industrial and economic institutions that are linked with modern means of transportation, roads and rail lines. Extended inside their spaces, which provide industrialists, investors and traders with great opportunities to access to the internal and European markets. The commercial ports achieved an increasing growth in providing the requirements for the modern ports in special fields. For instance, Rhodes ports specialized in lifting, storing, and delivering containers to their owners, in addition to the transfer of trailers and the supervision of goods by modern and sophisticated means. Also, all other ports are specialized in importing and exporting various goods, such as grain, solid materials needed for the industry and construction sector and other. In addition to the different goods, each of Sfax and Gabes ports handle the transfer of chemicals such as phosphates, treated phosphates, and mining materials. Gergis port is specialized in exporting salt, and with Rhodes and Bizerte it transfers oil and liquid items. In the domain of protecting the ocean inside and outside ports, the Office of Commercial Navy, in conjunction with the competent authorities, undertake regular operations to counter pollution and reduce its damages. To keep up the development of maritime sector in the world, the Office of Merchant Navy and Ports prepared big future projects which would be able to make a qualitative leap in the development of its ports, especially the construction of new port in the deep water of Nfida in order to attract large ships of the third generation of up to 8,000 containers and up to 17 miles immersion depth. The length of quays is about 5,000 miles, maritime space 233 hectares, and the space of logistic area related to the port is 2,000 hectares. With the completion of this huge project, Nfida Port will become the pioneer within the port system of the third generation in Tunisia. Waiting for the completion of this huge project, the Office of Commercial Maritime and Ports undertakes the implementation of several projects on rebuilding, reconstructing, and modernizing of commercial ports in order to provide the means of investment, development of the national economy, and integration into the Euro-Mediterranean Marine Highways project, in order to guarantee speed, quality, safety, and competitiveness in the field of providing services for both vessels and goods by establishing advanced means of smart transport in the field of upload, store, and rapid transit to Mediterranean and international ports, and the use of modern technologies in the field of disposition in the ports and the exchange of data and information. The completion and implementation of the big future projects are essential for commercial Tunisian ports to keep up with the requirements of economic transformations and major changes in the maritime transport sector at the Mediterranean and on international level.